And we're live. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Svelte launch party. I'm so excited today. I think everybody has been like stoked on Svelte. Raise your hand if you've been stoked on Svelte. Jeff, that was a little slow though. So
I'm still waking up. It's early.
But yeah, so excited to chat about the Svelte launch today, just last week. Let me pull up my slides really quickly. I'm still waking up too, Jeff, so don't worry. And I'm 3 hours ahead of you. So, all right, present. This is terrible. It's like watching somebody debug, you know. Where are my slides?
Just taking me back to all my work Zoom meetings.
I know. Is this on? Am I a cat?
You're muted.
There needs to be like some sort of a new, some sort of new thing related to that. Oh, okay, that's why. All right, there we go. Okay, my name is Tracy. I'm one of your hosts. You can follow me on Twitter at LadyLeet. And then my co-host here today is Rob. Go ahead.
I'm Rob O'Sell. I'm one of the architects at this.labs. You can find me on Twitter at RoboCell, which is just my name slightly misspelled.
Whoops.
Glad to be here.
Well, you learn a lot with this. Okay. Anyways, we have some amazing folks from the core team today. So you guys want to just do like quick 15-second intros?
Yeah. Hello. My name's Jeff. I'm one of the Svelte maintainers right now. Been using Svelte for quite a few years now, so excited to see it finally hit a new major version. And during the day, I'm a senior software engineer at WorderGroove.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Simon. I'm a full-time Svelte maintainer working at Svelte. And yeah, I've been at the other part of that, like being busy the last weeks, preparing and then finally releasing the Svelte 4 release. And yeah, and I'm pleased so far that close to no bugs have been shown up. So yeah, seems to have worked.
No complaints yet. Okay, good. Well, thank you again for joining, and let's just dive right into it and have a little bit.
We skipped some introductions.
Oh, oh my God. I told you I'm not awake. I swear to God. Sorry. This is the worst. Okay. Go ahead, Puru.
All right, so I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Puru. I'm currently a college student, and I worked on the website and the REPL. That's it. And that's my day job, being a student as well.
Amazing. And Ben?
Yeah, I'm Ben. I primarily work on SvelteKit, but have also pitched in a good amount with Svelte 4. And outside of working on Svelte, I'm an entrepreneur.
Amazing. Okay, well, cool. Thank you again, everyone, for introducing yourselves. And to get right into the meat, Svelte 4, what should we be excited about?
Yeah, so Svelte 4, like we have a couple of like small, but I think very nice improvements. Some of those are breaking changes, which is why we made the release. But we've also got to say that mainly Svelte 4 is a maintenance release, like clean the deck, clean the floor, get ready for the big Svelte 5 release. So like it's both like neat little things, but it's also not like these super breaking, super exciting things, which is like maybe good for some because I think upgrading will be seamless for most of the people. Maybe disappointing for some, like, oh, I waited so long for Svelte 4 and now it's just this. But stay tuned for more big things are coming your way.
Yeah, I think, while we saved the biggest features for Svelte 5, there are a few fun things that got thrown into Svelte 4. One of the things I personally was excited about was that the file sizes all got like 10 to 12% smaller, so your site will load that much faster.
yeah, around hydration, both the speed at which pages hydrate as well as the bundle size around hydration count is smaller in Svelte 4, so that's nice. Yeah. Another cool thing in Svelte 4 is that we completely overhauled custom element support, which is also technically a breaking change, so we couldn't make that in Svelte 3. We're now going with a wrapper approach, so we're like having a dedicated component wrapper which creates out of the regular Svelte components a custom element, and going this way like fixes a whole class of bugs. So like the PR which did this, I think I closed the PR is the one where I closed the most issues at once in my entire life. It was like 10 or 15 at once.
That is so cool. Is that how you determined which one should be like the biggest bang for your buck?
I don't, not necessarily, but like it from all the bug reports and so on, it like just showed that the overall approach we took in Svelte 3 was kind of flawed, and so we rethought that how it could be look in a like better. And so, for example, in Svelte 3, if you opt into custom element mode, then you have to use every Svelte component as a custom element. So if you just like want to expose one or two custom elements as one or two components as custom elements, and the rest of the other 10 components are like internal implementation detail which you don't want to expose, you still had to use them as custom elements internally. And now you no longer have to do that. So you can use them as regular Svelte components inside. And like this alone fixes a few feature requests and bug reports. And generally that the whole thing is wrapped, and internally it's the normal life cycle of a component that also fixes a lot of bugs. So going with the wrapper approach turned out to be a huge success.
Now I know we're kind of scattershotting some of the quick hits, and we can certainly circle around and do these in depth, but I just thought I would source from Antonio in the chat that one of their top features of the new release are the type generations. So the autocomplete got better. I mean, does someone want to share kind of what's going on there? Because I agree, like sometimes it feels like this isn't that flashy, but in your day-to-day development experience, this comes up a lot. So
that's true.
So explain what that new addition is.
That's actually the one I'm most excited about. I mean, I don't totally understand all the background on how we got there, but I don't know. For years in Svelte 3, I'd like type in on mount, and it would try to grab that import from like Svelte internal index, like not the actual place to import it. And now in Svelte 4, having that improved typings, which leads to improved autocomplete, has just made a big difference in how nice it is to author Svelte components. And with how we prioritize DX, I think that's probably my favorite change on Svelte 4, to be honest.
Yeah, also when you're like on a when you're looking at on mount and you're thinking like what's that actually looking like, and so like in Svelte 3, when you're going like command click on the mount, and then you're just taken to the TypeScript definition file, which is like not that useful because all the info you already have from your hover information. And so in Svelte 4, we've added declaration maps, so it takes you right to the actual source, so you can see right away what this thing is actually doing under the hood.
Yeah, I love that change too. Just as someone who likes to understand, like, this is behaving weirdly, what it's actually doing, it's always so frustrating to be sent to the declaration file and be like, I have to go figure out where this actually lives. So to be able to see like, oh, there's the code is right there is awesome.
Yeah, has anybody really ever meant to go to the declaration file? Like, come on now.
Yeah, and related to that, one of the changes that we made was we converted the entire code base from TypeScript to JavaScript with JS docs. So we still have type checking, and we can still ensure that we're not introducing errors, but there's kind of this layer that's been removed where, if you want to like open up your node modules and directly edit the source and like test a change to Svelte, you can do that. And I think it just makes it a lot easier because you don't have to like figure out how to map between TypeScript and JavaScript. So like when you do jump straight into the source, you're seeing the actual source. You're not like having to do this conversion between languages. And so that can make things a little nicer for folks that are actually working on the Svelte code base.
On the performance side of things, so we've talked about how I think there was a stat in the blog that was announcing the release that compiled outputs for like the kit.svelte were down like 12%. But then there was this other sort of eye-watering, this amazing stat that was going around that Svelte was suddenly 75% smaller, upwards of that. Could you put that into context? Because I think both that percentage number and also the fact that it went from like 10 megabytes down to 3 megabytes. I think there were some people that were maybe thinking that was like runtime bundle, and they were like, oh my God, I had no idea this was so big. I can't use this technology. Could you kind of put these size and performance improvements into context for people so they can understand where these numbers are coming from?
Yeah, so those sizes, I mean, that's primarily referring to the compiler. And so most people aren't going to be downloading the compiler into the browser, right? And so like that's primarily going to end up on your local file system. And so in that respect, the size doesn't matter so much. But where it really does make a difference is we've launched this online tutorial, learn.svelte.dev. And in learn.svelte.dev, you actually do compile code in the browser, and we do need to download the compiler into the browser for that interactive experience. And so for folks that are doing these more interactive online experiences, that's where that size really matters. And in terms of how we were able to accomplish that, I think there were a number of changes that kind of added up to get us there. But converting the code from TypeScript to JavaScript was one of the big ones, because that then means we don't need source maps. And source maps are often like twice the size of the code itself. And so being able to drop those was really, really impactful.
It was exciting to hear, though, that even after dropping 75%, there's still like another 50% potentially to gain. I mean,
because right now we're distributing both an ESM build and a common JS build, and the only reason that we've kept around the common JS build is to support ESLint plugin Svelte. But as soon as ESLint supports ESM, then we're no longer going to have to distribute that common JS, and we can drop that. And so, we're eagerly awaiting that. I think it might be a long wait still, because it's going to require the ESLint team to do a total rewrite of ESLint according to their current roadmap. And I don't know where that is on their roadmap. It's probably a ways out.
But even beyond, like, Ben mentioned, learn.svelte.dev should load faster. I don't know how much of a difference it'll make, but theoretically your npm install time with Svelte with this change should decrease, because you're only downloading 2 megabytes instead of 10. Maybe not that big a change, but it'll add up, and then maybe your CI will get that much faster. So small reason, but maybe an impactful one to upgrade.
Well, to pivot from sort of performance improvements to another thing that maybe slid under the radar a little bit, and Pru, I know you've been doing a lot of work on this, is the updates to the doc site and the website itself, which are really, really exciting. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a teaser to get us started on some of the things that people might notice for the first time that are new on the main site and the doc site around this release?
All right, I'll do a little bit of a run through. Is it fine if I share my screen?
Yeah, definitely. You'll do a better job than me of sharing the slides to kick off the event. All right.
Right.
I'll let you get to. Yep. All right. There we go.
So folks, this is the new website. And first thing that you can notice if you have been using Svelte for a while is we have got dark mode, which, if you ask, is the biggest feature that you could ever ask for. all other features are nothing compared to just this little satisfactory toggle.
Developers are simple. We only want one thing.
Precisely, we only want just one thing. That's it. So as you can notice, there's a bit of a dark mode. There's a little bit of a redesign, as you can see, and all of this is pretty similar to the kit.svelte.dev site. This side, wait, that's from some previous debugging. Never mind. Uh, so this website was inspiration for the design of this one. In fact, you can say this is pretty much a copy paste. The homepage is pretty much a Control C on the design and Control V right here. Pretty much it. We are now linking to the learn.svelte.dev here, which is, if you ask, much better than the old tutorial. Moving on, we have a little bit of a copyright change. We have a little bit of a copy changes, some text change here and there. The terminal, again, copy pasted directly from the kit website. And we have a brand new REPL. It does not look anything new, but it uses code mirror 6, which allows you to do some really nice stuff, which is multiple cursors. Which, if you have been using VS Code, is not anything new, but the previous REPL, it did not have any of those. We have those changes, and of course, it's also dark mode. Could not have forgotten that.
We need like a REPL user guide, because I feel like there's all these shortcuts now and like tips and tricks that I don't think a lot of people know about, or you kind of just have to remember.
I actually relate to you, Jeff, because even I don't know all other shortcuts. This thing is entirely new. The only shortcut I knew was just command click. Boom. That's the only thing I know usually.
Yeah.
It's nice that way, because every day then you have a little bit of joy when you discover a new thing you didn't know that it could do.
Precisely. And this was the homepage, and I would like to give a really nice shout out to Vedam, who helped design the entire page, and this really nice looking 3D image that is popping off of the background, that is also designed by Vedam. So folks, send him a cake if you can. Anyways, now moving over to the documentation, and the biggest thing, it's not a single page anymore. There's not a tiny scroll bar on the top right. Everything is in multiple pages, and it now makes more sense. For example, you have got an entire section dedicated to just how you write your entire Svelte components, all of the logic blocks, for example, the if blocks, each blocks, all the conditions, some of the special elements that Svelte gives you. Everything is in its own page now. And this is a bit of a special thing. As you can notice, uh, we have separate pages for every single Svelte module. So if you want to use Svelte stores, you import them from Svelte/store, and they're right here. Motion is here. Motion is where you get your nice spring and tweet. Anyways, going back to Svelte, as you can notice, just under the function name on mount, you can see this little bit of information, function on mount, t, fn, whatever, blah 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 stuff. This is all of this is entirely picked from the source code that is outputted, that's output from Svelte build step. So none of this was handwritten. It's all completely generated from the source, and it will always stay up to date, because documentation website, sometimes they tend to get a little bit outdated as new features are added. But this one is not going to have those problems. As you can see here, we have this. You have this, and same for Svelte store. You have this, and also, you have little links to some of the types exported here. Let's explore that. So if I click on writable, it took me straight to the bottom of the page, and at the bottom of every single page, you're going to notice all of the types exported by that module right here, with a little bit of decorated markup, as you would say. All the information that you could need is right here. And the one of the best features, let me find, is this one. So as you can see right now, this is a Svelte code snippet that that will work without any Svelte preprocessor or TypeScript or anything. But hey, if you're like me and you love TypeScript, all you need to do is just click on this little button and boom, you have the TypeScript equivalent right here.
I wish it was that easy for our old code bases.
I'm sorry?
I said I wish it was that easy for our old code bases that we all work on.
Yeah, precisely. And as you can see, every single module page has a little type section at the bottom. So if you're trying to create your own action or your custom transition, you need to hunt in the generate index.d.ts files for, hey, which type definition do I need to use? No, it's all right here. Everything is right here. That's it. And some of the other changes are pretty much it. And we also have a Svelte 4 migration guide on the website. So if you just did npm install Svelte at 4 and your app is breaking, check out this page. This should help.
One thing I want to call out about the multi-page docs, I know a lot of people are kind of attached to like the single page Control F experience. But I just want to mention that because of how big that page was getting, I think it actually discouraged us adding documentation for some things, because it's like, oh, I'm not going to add one more thing to that page, have to hydrate it and like get even more HTML on it. So the fact that we now have multi-pages means we can document things that maybe we wouldn't have wanted to document before on the single page version. And I think one of those things, maybe if you can go there really quick, Peru, is like we have dedicated TypeScript docs now. How you like type your Svelte components, which I think is exciting.
I thought too that I mean, it's maybe been this way for a while. I've seen more sites doing this, and I love that they do it in doc sites. It's just the command palette piece, like kind of taking the place of just control Fing a large page. I mean, that just the ease at which you can bounce around the site to different pages is really clean.
Yeah, and it like, you know, Control F was really nice in the early days of Svelte, but like as we've added more and more documentation, now a lot of times you'll do Control F and you'll get 40 matches. And so, you know, if the thing you're looking for is number 30, it might be actually kind of difficult to find things with Control F. And so, you know, one of the things we wanted to make sure we did when we launched multi-page docs was to have search so that you could easily find things on different pages. And we're still working on that search experience. We're actually prototyping right now a version that uses a different library to implement search, just to really make sure that you know, people can find what they're looking for very, very quickly.
And also to note, it also works without JavaScript. So like if you're for some reason don't have JavaScript enabled or JavaScript doesn't load, it will still continue to work.
Cool.
And there is one last change that I would like to show, that is the controversial part of this change. So as you can see, we don't have a top navigation bar anymore. This is what we have. Hide it. This is what we have now. Bottom navigation, and the search is right here. And when you click on the hamburger, it opens up the entire docs list. So instead of just opening the main menu, it opens up the docs list, because chances are, if you are on one of the documentation pages, you want to go to other documentation pages. If I'm on Svelte Store, I just want to go to, I don't know, maybe Svelte Transition, Svelte Animate, something like that. So all of this is in the bottom navigation bar and this really smart menu. And of course, you can always go to the main menu by just clicking this really nice animation that Rich himself created, and it's pretty nice. And dark mode again. Love the dark mode.
So fun.
And we also have the entire blog list in this navigation bar only. So if for some reason you are feeling like not going to the blog page directly, you can just open up the navigation bar anywhere and travel around. And also, if you have not checked this latest blog post about announcing Svelte 4, go check it out. It's pretty nice.
speaking of blog posts, if you want to learn a bit more about the site, or if you just prefer reading to listening to us, then check back in the blog. After this talk, we'll probably release another blog post where Puru will, like in more depth, go through all these changes in writing.
Yeah, this is a really interesting information and important information too. So, but amazing job too. I mean, docs are, I still remember when I was trying to play with Svelte, I think back in 2019. And, you know, as somebody who wasn't intimately familiar with Svelte and just getting started, it was difficult and took me longer than I wanted it to. So having this and just making it really easy for beginners to get started, I think is amazing. Have you all found a lot of boot camps reaching out and saying that they're using Svelte as the kind of like their to learn? Are boot camps switching over yet to teach Svelte first?
I haven't heard anything, but
Yeah, I don't know about boot camp specifically, but I have heard of schools that are using Svelte as a way to start teaching web development.
It's great. Like colleges?
Yeah, in high schools even.
Oh, I love it. Especially when you have things like the REPL and Stack Blitz and stuff like that. It just makes it so much easier to teach anything related to development, period. So that's really great.
Well, and that's why that goal of trying to, remove the types of dependencies that would require build steps to just, get the barest bones Svelte implementation is such a cool path to go down, just to allow people to like lower that barrier to entry to start creating experiences without necessarily removing that complexity for the sort of industrial strength enterprise applications that'll need it. I think that's why that's going to be super exciting as we keep moving forward.
I love that word, industrial strength. Like, no, I don't build enterprise applications. I build industrial strength applications. That should be a new thing. It sounds so much better.
I'll tell you, it's way too much fun though to just jump around the documentation. I mean, you showed it briefly, I think, but like to hover over variables and see their types. I don't know why that's so satisfying, but I was like, oh, in this map, n is a number. Interesting. Like,
I feel enlightened.
It's a fun docs to play with.
Precisely, and one thing I forgot to tell is, because of this little tooltip telling you the exact type information, the code itself has to be correct, which means our docs are entirely type checked every time you build them, every time a new feature comes in. So if a new feature comes and one of the code snippets break, the entire website breaks, and we instantly know we need to update that. So no more stale docs. This is it. This is modern documentation CI, I would say.
Love that. Cool. Any other updates with the docs you want to talk about?
I just think I want to shout out what a good job Puru did. He's been working on this for like months now, and with the team effort, but really spearheaded by Puru. And part of the reason he's been able to spend so much time on it is that we've been able to fund this work through open collective donations. So
amazing.
If you've been donating to Svelte's development, some of that has been going towards funding this complete rewrite and redesign of the doc site.
Everyone who donated practically rebuilt the website, you could say.
That's awesome.
And I know there's still a lot more that Puru is working on as well, like bringing that mobile navigation that he just showed. We're going to bring that to the SvelteKit website. I know he's working on changes to the REPL and new search experience. And so I think, if you're browsing the Svelte site regularly, hopefully you'll start to see the small improvements trickle out.
All right. Well, maybe we can pivot to sort of giving people a sense of, all right, we know now why Svelte 4 is exciting and the promise of what's to come in Svelte 5, but people may still be sitting on their existing Svelte 3 code bases and kind of wondering, all right, well, what do I need to actually do to enable these new features? What are the types of things that people need to know and I believe you all announced that there's a pretty nice migration script that can maybe help people get there some of the way. But can you start to explain to people what are some of the things they're going to have to be aware of as they're sort of navigating this migration or upgrade?
Yeah, so all the breaking changes are highlighted and summarized on the migration doc page that Puru showed briefly. So if you have anything that breaks, it should be highlighted there. So if you already updated and then now are wondering, okay, what are the changes actually? You can look them up there. If you're still on Svelte 3, it's probably best to just start with the migration script. So it's npx svelte-migrate and then svelte-4. And this will go through your code base and update everything we can update automatically, which are some types which have been tightened up. So they are if you're dependent on the loose version of those, you won't get a type error from that. It will automatically migrate. For example, one of the breaking changes we did is that my transitions are now local by default, which makes a lot of sense because previously they were global by default, which meant if you have deep in your page an animation, a outro animation playing, and you switch the page, then you have to wait until that little animation is done playing until you can actually switch the page, which kind of throws people up and throws people off, and so that is changed. And the migration script asks you in the beginning, okay, do you want to migrate it so your global transitions are kept global, or do you think, okay, maybe I have some bugs hidden there, I don't want this to be migrated? So there even a little questionnaire there. And it will also update all the dependencies in your package.json to the latest version, so that also the peer dependency versions are matching up. So if you're creating, bumping your Svelte version within a SvelteKit project, the migration script also ensures that SvelteKit is bumped to the version that officially supports Svelte 4. And so that the migration script does a lot of the busy work for you, but it can't do everything. So the migration guide will help you with the other changes. Collectively, in summary, it reads like a lot of breaking changes, but most of them are super small and will not affect many people. So it may very well be that you can run the migration script and then you're done. You don't need to adjust anything else afterwards and can just continue coding.
Yeah, I've actually upgraded, I think, 3 sites to Svelte 4 now, and all I've done is upgrade the dependencies, and it's just worked. I've actually not even bothered to run the migration script myself.
I think the one that might get some people, although honestly, I think this just always happens with any technology, is just the move to require at least Node 16. I think teams should be generally trying to keep themselves forward, but I've definitely worked on teams in the past that there's that one dependency that's stopping you from upgrading Node. So, be aware of that. If you're using kind of dependencies that have those kind of old ones, it may be time to start poking your manager or your tech lead or whatever that we need to start investing in getting some of these dependencies upgraded. So that you can
been there, done that. So it helps if you say, hey, I need to stay current, and this is stopping me.
Yeah, the whole it's now a security vulnerability because this version of Node is no longer getting updates can go a long way there.
So to zero in specifically on sort of SvelteKit, because now a lot of people are going to be inside the context of SvelteKit. What does Svelte 4 mean for SvelteKit? Did it create the need to upgrade that? Are there any changes other than the dependency on Svelte 4 that people need to be aware of with SvelteKit? Should people understand these releases to be in tandem with each other, or will they still sort of be distinct things? What do people need to know if they're using SvelteKit right now and looking to start using Svelte 4?
So theoretically you can keep using the SvelteKit version you're currently on. It will show a warning the peer dependencies don't match up. But other than that, that's basically it. So all we did to officially support Svelte within SvelteKit is declare in our peer dependency that we also support Svelte 4. So there hasn't been any changes besides that, as far as I'm aware. So
yeah, I think the one thing you would need to like make sure of is that you upgrade Vite plugin Svelte, which SvelteKit pulls in as a dependency. And so you can either do that by upgrading your lock file, or if you do upgrade to the latest SvelteKit, it'll make sure that you have the latest Vite plugin Svelte as well, which we did make some changes to Vite plugin Svelte to support Svelte 4.
The migration script handles that too, right? So
it like if you run the migration script, it will just bump to all the needed versions. But again, if you for some reason don't want to upgrade SvelteKit, it is theoretically possible to live with a dependency warning, but still continue using an older version of SvelteKit. And as far as impact goes, as said in the beginning, you expect your hydration code to be smaller and the hydration speed to be faster. So there will probably be around a 10% decrease in bundle size of your final app.
We've actually been profiling some real world examples of hydration, and Svelte 4.0.1 or one of the next releases here should contain a few more hydration performance improvements that Simon's been working on.
Are you guys just like profiling those internally, or is there like some place to poke around and find them so we can play?
Yeah, I don't think we've published any of it. I've just been using some of the sites I've been working on, and so I think that we've just been using the Chrome performance tab within the developer tools has been really, really helpful for kind of highlighting hotspots and things that take a while. And one of the things that we noticed is the way that picture tags work in SvelteKit. There's some performance improvements that could be made there. And one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about is like how to generate an image component. And so, some of those use cases for static sites, we end up generating a picture tag. And so that was a thing that people would start hitting a lot more if we don't address this first before introducing that new component.
So I think people that understand the history know that kind of like Svelte development kind of progressed, and part of the big to-do about Svelte 4 was that it was like, oh, it's been 4 years since the last major release. And a lot of people were like, oh no, like what have you been working on for 4 years? The answer to a large extent was SvelteKit, right? For part of it. And so there was like this idea that it was like kind of Svelte and then SvelteKit, now back to Svelte. And is that the way people should understand this? Or is this idea that as we're projecting forward towards Svelte 5 and like, is there sort of paired projection of where Svelte and SvelteKit are going to go? Are they mostly independent as they're sort of casting how they're going to be developed? Should you expect it to kind of be like one's into the focus and the other one is in maintenance mode? Is there a conceptual model that the community should kind of understand of how these two products are sort of developed moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true that like in terms of, the maintainer focus, like we tend to focus on, like one big project at a time so that we can get a lot of eyes on it and get a lot of feedback and, make sure that the changes we're making make sense. But we do like learn things from one versus the other and transfer them over. Like Simon talked about, like one of the changes that we made in Svelte 4 was making transactions local by default. And that was something that really we noticed a lot more once we started working on SvelteKit. And, I think that there's a lot of these things that we've seen, like some of the hydration improvements as well. Like those were things that people brought up, like as we were developing SvelteKit, we got a lot of community feedback around, some of the other frameworks that were doing cool things with hydration. And so we wanted to look and see, how we can make sure that we're performing really well there. And so there's definitely a lot of learnings that get transferred between them. And I think that, like being able to develop both allows us to like introduce new features in Svelte that then we can take advantage of in SvelteKit. And so having the same group of folks, like we have a lot of folks that work on both code bases, we can really make sure that like we are developing them in tandem in that respect, even if our focus on a release is, okay, we're going to just work on Svelte for a little while. We're going to focus more on SvelteKit for a little while. But they are, tied together in terms of making sure that they take advantage of each other's features.
But we shouldn't expect that just because there's a Svelte 5 that it's going to be SvelteKit 2 and like this kind of stuff.
I think there's going to be a SvelteKit 2 at some point, just realistically, because I think, also like as Vite introduces new versions, like thus far we've been able to support both, but as there's new versions of Vite and Node.js and SvelteKit, like it might not be that SvelteKit 2 is a huge release, but probably to take advantage of the newest features in the bundlers and Svelte itself, it probably does make sense that there would be a Svelte 2 around the Svelte 5 release, but I don't know that we've thought about it in detail.
It depends on what changes, right? Maybe Svelte 5 doesn't change API that SvelteKit relies on, so we can support both. But hard to say until we get there.
All right, we'll keep our eyes out. I thought we'll take a small break here for some audience questions. We had one from Antonio asked, was there any focus that went into the Svelte DevTools repo in Svelte 4, or is that under consideration for Svelte 5, or any updates or announcements on that regard?
Yeah, so the Svelte DevTools actually had been a community maintained project for a long time. It was developed by a contributor named Red Hatter, and she had developed that and published it, and that was totally her project. And then, more recently, she transferred the repo over to the Svelte team so that we could lend a hand with it as well. We've not gotten the ability to publish new versions yet into the store, and so we may end up publishing a new version of the extension and asking people to switch over for Svelte 4. And so I think the version that's in the web store right now might be the Svelte 3 version.
Okay. And put on your sales hats, everybody. Sean asks, getting to see the benefits that the community has received from the funding from the work that Peru is doing. What is the best or most effective way to point companies to funding the types of work that Peru is doing, that the whole team is doing, and its importance both to an individual company as well as just the community at large? Do y'all have any sales pitches that people can give to their managers to get the team some more funding?
Well, one thing I'd say actually is that, I think sometimes even more impactful than the funding itself is just getting time. So like if if companies let their employees work on Svelte or SvelteKit and fix bugs that are there and contribute their employees' time towards improving those, that's to me even better. I think, is like, the donations are obviously very, very welcome. But it's hard to find folks like Puru who we can go out and find and get to work, even having that money available. And so, if we can get folks time, that's very much appreciated as well. It doesn't just have to be money.
Well, I just love the stories as well when it comes to like Peru. And sorry, Simon, I know you're about to say something, but it's like, how does one person, and this is always the question, right? Whenever we talk about people wanting to get into open source, what's the journey look like? So like Peru, how did you become the one working on the docs? That's really cool. How did that happen? What was like the first step? What did you do?
So the first step I remember was 2 years ago. I created a little thing called macOS Web. I mean, it already existed in React. I had made the React version. I just rewrote it to Svelte. It blew up somehow, and I ended up being a Svelte ambassador somehow. And afterwards, I've been pretty active in the community, just pushing Svelte as much as I could. I spoke at Svelte Summit twice, and 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 then one of the days, I remember there was a little bit of posting in Discord, the Discord by maintainers, by one of the maintainers, um, recruiting us ambassadors for stuff like hey, if you're free, could you help us on these things? One of the things I saw was the site, and I immediately wanted to help it because, oh my god, I remember the pain of browsing that website on my old Windows computer. It was just browsing the docs. It would be janky. Like my old computer, it was really underpowered, so I just felt the pain. So this was
That's
one of the
awesome.
reasons.
So then the question is, because Svelte ambassador, like how do you become one? Like what do you need to do? Is it program run by the core team?
All right. So to become the Svelte ambassador, all you got to do is just be active in the community, make awesome Svelte stuff, and someone is going to recommend you to the core team and the rest of the ambassadors. And if you all agree, hey, you're ambassador. All of it is your work and your dedication to the community that counts.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and so to emphasize, like it doesn't need to be code contributions to Svelte or SvelteKit itself. Like it could be that you're creating content like videos or blog posts which are engaging and are like fostering the community, or it could be that you're contributing to the documentation, or it could be that you're maintaining a popular Svelte library. So like there are very different angles to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, helping users on Discord or Stack Overflow, or answering questions in GitHub discussions, all of those are super appreciated as well.
Right.
Precisely. And just an example, if you're familiar with Hunter Byte and Joy of Code, they are also ambassadors, and I'm not familiar with them having made contributions to a Svelte or SvelteKit code bases. I mean, they might have, I'm just not familiar with it. And my first contribution itself was for making the website. I never even touched the Svelte or SvelteKit code bases, so anyone can be an ambassador.
Awesome. And Simon, you were about to say something before I asked Peru kind of his journey.
Yeah, about like going back to the money thing.
Yes, yes.
Maybe you can't contribute time, so the next best thing you can do is contribute money. And I think it's like how do we get there? Like how can you make your company pay that? And I think it's like a bottom-up approach. So I think that if everybody goes to their manager and says, hey, we're using a lot of open source, let's give back to those who contribute their time, often in their free time, to create something that we can use for free. So let's contribute back by contributing money, for example. And it doesn't need to be like Svelte. It can be any open source project. So like in my ideal world, every company has a, I don't know, open source funding program where maybe every person gets a certain amount of money, which they can then spend on the projects they see fit that helps them in their day-to-day work, for example.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough to pitch this to managers. I think it needs to be a cultural thing, probably a lot, and a cultural shift if your company is the type of company that doesn't do this, and not all companies are in a position to maybe make those contributions. But I think if your manager is like the only thing that's between them and funding is the logical argument you can make. You can try to quantify the amount of hours it would take to build your own front-end framework engine, and how that equates to developer hours and cost. You could talk about a world without open source would be one where everything is closed source. And I've been a developer long enough. I mean, these tools still exist where all libraries that you would use when you would build software would be paid for licensed pieces of work. And the licenses for those were many thousands, sometimes tens of $1,000s a year, even for moderate sized companies. And, you get people into that idea, like that's where we go if nobody funds this work. And so, again, if that fits culturally, I think that works. But it is very tough when a business is like, well, yeah, but it's free. That's why we like it. It's because it's free.
Well, I think if you look at the Node, if you look at like the Node community, right, and why so many large companies are contributing to that, or even Angular, for example, right, like more like enterprise adopted or industrial strength adopted companies, there actually is a business case, right? They want a seat at the table. They want a seat to have those conversations. So if your company is really investing in Svelte and, you need to contribute something upstream because something's taking a lot of time, or you want to have a seat at the table and have more of a conversation with maintainers, and you can't contribute time, a great way is to make donations and say, hey, we did this, like, could you help out a little bit? I mean, I know it's like, are you buying a seat at the table? But at least you're contributing something, right? Because open source is all about contributing something before you ask for something in return. So if you can't do that with time and a developer, it's okay to do that with money too, to just, start a conversation, I would say. And again, that's what a lot of companies in the industrial strength world do. And it works really well. And it's a lot of money, right? I mean, the Node contributions when it comes to enterprises and putting money where their mouth is no joke.
So we had maybe a last question here from the audience. It's sort of taken a couple different forms. I'm sure each of you has probably been asked a few different times how to get started contributing to open source. That's not the way I would like to ask the question. What I would like to ask is if you can remember back to the first bug you fixed inside of Svelte or SvelteKit, how did you know that you did it the right way? Like, how did you start to learn about the way that the system worked? Did you just sit there and study it all before you did your first bug? Or did you just try to understand enough to fix just the thing in question and then people corrected you? Can help people understand how they would even start getting in a project that feels so mature and so large as this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think a skill to learn, not just in open source, but like in any place you work, is like, you're not going any sufficiently mature code base, you're not gonna be able to understand everything that's going on. I mean, that's even true with Svelte. Like, I made some very small bug fixes to Svelte, but have no idea like the larger compiler picture. So I think figuring out the right thing to work on, I know we have some stuff tagged with like good first issue, like those kind of things, and then just following the path through the code base to figure out where this actually happens. If you can start with a failing test, that can start pointing you in the right direction, the new improvements, so that control clicking actually takes you to like implementations, can help you trace down. And then, just trying to get down to the point where the bug is, and fixing it and putting up a PR. That being said, like, the majority of my contributions and my first contributions were around the doc site, which I think a lot of times might be an easier place to get started if there's something to fix, because that's closer to like the applications people are used to working on. But wherever you start is just like understand just enough to drill into where the issue is and try to fix it is the best way to learn and start making those contributions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand all of the code base even on SvelteKit, which like I have been working on since day one. And like new features get introduced, or old features get rewritten, and I like lose the old context that I used to have. So I think it's just about understanding, the piece that you need to work on. For SvelteKit, we've put a good amount of effort into really making sure that the code base is documented in a way that helps beginners, and we've written a contribution guide, which is hopefully helpful for getting folks started. And so, if you do want to contribute and you've like run into some issue, like figuring out how to navigate that, then hop onto Discord and drop a note in the contributing channel. We'll try to guide you through that and figure out like where we need to add more documentation to help folks not get stuck in the same place in the future. The Svelte core code base, quite honestly, is a little bit more intimidating. I myself have don't know how a lot of it works. I think, when we do the Svelte 5 rewrite, that we're going to be simplifying some of that. And, I think that's always a really good opportunity to go through and make sure that, we're documenting things appropriately and making it easier for newcomers. So hopefully that one will get a little bit easier in the future.
Totally. And also, if you're like, you can also contribute at the if you don't want to contribute or can't contribute to Svelte or SvelteKit directly, you could also contribute to adjacent tools like the Prettier plugin or the ESLint plugin, or the language tools which provide the IntelliSense in your editor, so you get auto-completion, etc. Those are all also projects maintained by us, the core team, and they are generally, most of them are smaller in size, and so maybe easier to get started. And so if you're saying like, okay, I don't have that much time, but it would be nice to like take ownership of one of those things and feel like I really know the code base, then maybe one of those smaller projects is the right thing for you.
All right.
Yeah, I think, even on the Svelte code base, like without like working on the code itself, I found a lot of opportunities to contribute around things like, how do we build the project? How do we test the project? Like, how do we set up the CI? And so there's always work to be done.
Wonderful. Well, very quickly, we've come to the end of our hour here. So we thank everybody for attending, but I thought maybe there's still a chance to go around and just get any last thoughts from everyone, or any things that they want to shout out or say here at the end. Maybe I'll go first and just speak on behalf of the community and just say thank you. It's been an exciting year for Svelte developers and the Svelte community. SvelteKit has just been a treat. I talked to a lot of developers that just have absolutely just works the way they would expect it to work and the way that they think. So that's been really exciting. It was great to hear the commitment to getting Svelte 4 out quickly, that it's here. And just, you can feel like the energy and the excitement of the core team with all the new members that are joining and just the way things are flowing. So we're loving the vibes and we hope the momentum goes. So thanks for sharing this launch party with us and letting us be a part of it as well. But yeah, I'll toss it around. Simon, did you have anything that you wanted to conclude with?
Yeah. So first of all, a huge thank you to the whole community. Yeah, like the energy flows both ways. So we also feel a lot of the positive vibes, which really helps and keep us motivated and going through it. And yeah, I'm really excited about the future of Svelte. Like specifically Svelte 5, I think is going to be huge. And Dominic has joined us like 6 to 8 weeks ago, and he has already made so much impact and progress. And like the brainstorming within us has been very rewarding. And so yeah, there are good things coming your way.
Wonderful. Jeff?
Yeah, echo everything Simon said. And yeah, if you haven't, go give Svelte 4 a try. We're definitely still very early post-release, so appreciate everyone trying to give their apps an upgrade, open any issues you might find. And yeah, stay tuned for more.
Brew?
All right, so I've only got one shout out for one person, Paolo Ricuti, who created Svelte Lab. He has been helping me a lot over the last week, fix a lot of the issues with the new REPL. And I can safely say that the new REPL is pretty much bugless. Again, I mean, as bugless as it was. Is bugless even a word? Anyways, it is as good as it was before now. So thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. And Ben?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the ecosystem integrations. The storybook folks were helping test Svelte 4 from the early days and found a couple issues early on. And, like as soon as we released Svelte 4, we're ready to go with an update to support that. Jesse Beach, who maintains ARIA Query, helped us get some changes in there that resulted in some of the smaller file sizes that we were able to promote with Svelte 4 having a smaller package size. And so, all across the ecosystem, we've had a bunch of folks that are been contributing to make sure that Svelte works well with these other big projects in the JavaScript ecosystem. And so, if there's anybody that's looking to make Svelte work with some other tool in the ecosystem, definitely get in touch. We're happy to support that and help you do that.
Awesome. Tracy, you want to send us out?
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining. At this dot, we have a lot of interesting, fun content coming out. So we just did a podcast we're releasing with Kevin from Svelte Society, talking a little bit more about the Svelte release. And then upcoming soon, we'll be talking to Dominic, who's doing a lot of really fun stuff related to, I think, Svelte 5, right? Or just a lot of fun stuff happening. So we might not specifically talk about that, but we will be talking a little bit more about Svelte in general and building as a maintainer. So that'll be really cool. Peru, the stuff that you showed on, the REPL and the docs and stuff like that, I feel like I'm really looking forward to the blog post, but I think also we need to somehow show people how to use it a little bit better. So maybe I'll be reaching out to that soon. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for having us.